Hello. So I started my research looking at participatory artists that create awareness on climate change. For example, I looked at all of her license work, and then I started looking at different aspects of climate change and how I could create awareness on that. So I looked at the four classical elements, fire, air, water, and earth, in order to give a holistic approach of the issues. And then I started looking at the different datas and graphs that shows the change. And then I created some grids, which were based on the main points of those graphs. I experiment with them a little bit, and then I wanted to create a typeface that were designed using the grid. And I created four different typefaces. These are two examples. So one is the fire alphabet, and the other one is the air alphabet, that were created entirely with the grid system. And then I realized that the grid was too restrictive, and I needed an emotional side of the story in order to express the concept of that information are not enough, and the emotional side of climate change was more interesting and attracted more people. So after that, I designed some formats for the books, and then I thought that the best way to continue this was to look at scientific journals and how they were designed in order to create an information part of the books. And then I looked at Sam Winston's work for the emotional side, that I wanted to use poems for it, and the John Warwicker, The Floating Words book, which were the main research that I've done. And then I started experimenting with the words and the poems in order to express the concepts of each element and each issues of climate change. So each poem has a different concept and express a different element. These are some examples of the work. And after that, for example, here the water poems are based on the Arctic ice sea extent. The earth poems are based on the loss of carbon in the soil. The fire one based on the Amazonian rainforest wildfires, and then the air one are based on the different speed and circulation of the wind in the past 10 years in Europe. It's a dummy book that I've made, and I wanted to include the poems as a little booklet inside an A4 booklet. So I created four different books. These are the covers designed for each element. But then I realized that the best way to create a story and tell a narrative was to put everything inside one book, which is based on the same concepts of the first four books that I've done, but I wanted to include images and additional information and text, and also wanted to create a contrast between the poems and the information part, which the information part is the material that I wanted to use is recycled paper, and the poems, the material I wanted to use is plastic, which is the emblematic representation of the damage that humans created on Earth. So this are the final visuals, and this is a dummy book that showed the if the book was printed. After this, I wanted to create a mock-up that shows the layout at its best, and in order to develop this project, I would like to print it with the right materials and also include the textures and embossed typeface, for example, for the air poems, which could express at best the concept behind it, and use charcoal for the fire pages.